And we're live.
What's up?
Damiyr, thank you for coming on today, sir.
Thank you for having me, man.
So, as I told you a few seconds ago, is there a little tidbit, little story, little something that the world doesn't already know about you?
Yeah, actually, I've not shared this with anyone but like close friends, but I recently did a year of celibacy.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's the best one we've ever had. That's
Yeah, I did
wait
a
now. Hold on. Hold on. This is
I did a year of celibacy, and that includes no masturbation. Like, because some people do celibacy and they still masturbate, and to me,
wait.
it's just like,
Is this over?
no, no, no. I mean,
this
yeah,
is-
it's over. It ended. It ended in July.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait. Fuck all the questions I
long.
have. So where did this idea come from?
Well, I was thinking about my music, and I'm also an actor,
Right.
and my acting, and I wanted to find a way to take all of my existence, all of my energy, all of my focus, and put it into that without having any disturbances, like a very clear version of myself going into what I'm doing. And I just thought about everything that was a distraction or everything that took energy from me. And so that was one of the 20 things that I took away. Like,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
I did a lot of shit. Like, it was, I stopped eating meat. I started meditating. I started, I became celibate. So just a lot of things. Yeah.
so. What did you learn about? What did you learn about yourself in that?
Oh,
So it was like during this year you're gonna stop all of those things at once, or did you do like for a few months it's gonna be no meat, a few months this, like, or is it like from June, let's say June 1st, 2018 to June 1st, 2019, all these things at once?
I'm extreme, man. I
Wow.
did everything at once.
Everything at once.
Everything at once. Yeah.
Which one was the hardest?
The celibacy was 100% the hardest thing. Because I think the first 3 months is the hardest.
Okay.
Okay, let me change the words. The first 3 months is just, that's the time when it's the transition period when your body's not used to it, and it expects you to do what you're used to doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people have sex to express some sort of emotion. You know what I mean? Whether it's
Right.
happiness, sadness, anger, whatever. And so, when I had these emotions and I couldn't do it, my body was flipping out.
Wow.
I didn't know, there were nights when I just didn't sleep. I just stood by my closet and like kept a fist, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do a whole year.
Wow.
And so, I learned a lot about the way I respond to things in contrast to sex. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
And connections. Yeah.
So how has that experience of being celibate for a year changed you and maybe your sex life now?
Now,
Do you view it differently because of that experience?
yeah, 100%.
How so?
I didn't realize that when I would look at a woman or meet a woman, that the first thing, probably like 75% of my interaction with her and my decisions based on her was based on sex, like my sexual desires. And I didn't realize that until this year of celibacy, when I sat in front of a woman and I knew I was not having sex and I wasn't planning on having sex with them, because this is the rule that I've made for myself. And I just had to sit and just be in front of her, and she was just like, it was like talking to a dude, just like the same way you feel talking to another guy, where you don't have any underlining motives. I just started to just talk to women.
But would you go on dates and
No.
like you wouldn't do any, like you wouldn't
No.
put yourself in a position, like you were never in a position where they thought something was going to happen, or were you very clear about it, or you just fully avoided like dating and everything women sexual related like that?
I completely avoided it for the first 9 months because I knew just me by myself, it was going to be hard without anything in front of me.
Right.
I keep saying. And so, but after the 9 months and it was coming to an end, I thought, you know what, I can now start going out and meeting women and seeing, go on some dates and
Right.
just seeing what's out there. And I did have a discussion with a couple of the dates that I went on, like, hey, listen, just a heads up, I'm celibate.
And what did they think about that?
Some women were like, That sucks. Nice to know you. You know, but majority of them they were like really interested in it, and they're like really surprised and excited about it. Actually,
Well, I feel like, yeah, I feel like it could have positive effects because now they're realizing that you're there for them
right,
as people and
right.
not, um, you know, to have sex all the time.
Yes, that wall that
Right.
people put up, they just took it down. Like once I told them that, everything was just like relaxed and easy and calm, and we were just there, two people, two humans. You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then, wow, I was not expecting that. Jesus, that's very cool. And then so since then, you do feel like your first instinct when you will like meet a woman or you're in that kind of situation is to focus on who they are as people before the sexual side. Is that like what is that really changed now, would you say?
I think the first instinct is still like some sort of attraction,
Okay.
which can be converted to sex if you think about it. But I think that initial thing is some sort of attraction, whether it's energetic attraction or intellectual or physical. It's whatever that is for that person. But then once I meet them and I start talking to them, my desire is definitely for a closer connection
Oh,
with them as a person, because now it's just like I've I've been celibate for a year. Like I don't care if we have sex or not.
wow.
Like I've done that, you know. Like my body is trained. I can do a whole year. Like, I don't know anything else after that.
What?
But you know what I mean? So yeah, it did definitely change that, and it just makes me want to have a closer relationship with the person before even going into that.
Were you counting down the days at the end of the year?
No.
Or was it was just like
I was like, shit, I might do another year.
would you do it again?
I would. I'm going to for sure. For sure.
Really?
It's I can't explain to you how incredible that experience is, because one, you get to know yourself. Two, the things that we do, and this is for men and women. I think a lot of us we will masturbate, or we'll go meet someone and have sex with them, and it's a distraction from what's really going
Mm,
on. You know what I mean? Unless it's sex through like joy, like you're full of joy and you have
right.
sex. That's different. But every other emotion that we escape, you're not dealing with yourself. So I spent this entire year with these moments when I was sad or angry or feeling lonely. I was like, what do I do? What does Damiyr do when he's lonely? And I knew it was like, oh, normally I would find someone to, you know, but then I couldn't do that. Then I had to figure it out. I started going hiking.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
I started going to Harriman State Park.
Okay.
It's like an hour from from Manhattan. You can just go hiking for hours. You can see the city. The mountains are so high. You can see the city from the park. I started doing like all these things that I didn't know that I really, really, really enjoyed doing. So I started to get to know myself. It was incredible.
So what are some of the other, I mean, didn't eat meat. What are some of the other things you didn't do?
So I stopped eating meat. I stopped drinking alcohol,
Okay.
sex. I started meditating on a daily basis.
What did that look like?
1 hour meditation.
But what is your like I mean, for some people it's sitting quiet, some people like what does meditation look like for you?
I did a couple different things to try out, but for me, I decided to just silence and just to let my mind sleep and rest,
So
because I was always thinking of things. You know.
so you're sitting there in silence?
Yeah.
Just for a straight hour?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. In the
No.
morning, at night?
I normally did it at night,
Okay.
but sometimes I do it in the morning. Depends, but because I feel like in the morning I'm already sort of in a meditative state because I've just waken up
Right.
and I've been like very relaxed and calm. But it's after a long day, and especially after going out to sing in the subway, where I've given up my energy and I've taken all sorts of different kinds of energy from other people and from the subway. I need to like really bring myself back down.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And any others? Any other big things?
So meditation. What else? I got some weird ones that I did just to try it. So I stopped using lotion.
Oh wow.
Lotion, because I had a something happened where I had like this weird reaction to something I used on my skin. So instead of using lotion, I just decided to let it rest, and then I had a weird reaction for my under my arms for my deodorant. So I stopped using deodorant and lotion just to let the rash heal, you know?
Okay.
And since I had been vegan for almost a year and I hadn't been drinking alcohol, I like in like 5 days I realized, yo,
You weren't
I'm not I
smelling.
wasn't musty at all. Like the 5 days, I didn't even think
Wow.
about it. So I decided, okay, and it was summertime too. And
Oh,
so I decided, you know what, for this whole summer, I'm not gonna use deodorant, and I'm not gonna. This is a lot for
what?
you right
No, I
now.
love it. I love it.
And I'm not gonna use lotion. And what I experienced was with the deodorant, it was great because I didn't smell. I had no
Wow.
odor. But then when I would go and cheat and have some sweets, or like
Oh,
eat some processed foods or some potato chips, the next day I would have an odor.
that's so. But so you would sweat. You would still sweat like
I
it's the summer,
Yeah,
but you wouldn't smell.
but I didn't have an odor. No.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
unless I was eating wrong.
Unless you were eating
The
wrong.
next day or two or three, I would smell.
That's
And
unbelievable.
so it was like very interesting.
But I feel like what's the science on this? I feel like I've never even seen anybody. I believe you. I've never heard of this.
Well, I don't know anything about science,
Me
but
neither. But
but I do think that when you eat bad
right,
foods,
it would make sense.
your body has different ways of getting rid of it, and that's one of the ways through your sweat.
Wow.
But if you don't have anything bad in your system, then your sweat is just liquid.
Now, from a mental perspective, do you feel like you were compare the mental side between a year of celibacy and all of those things that you're doing and going back to doing now? Do you eat meat now? Do you do all those?
Now I'm trying to find balance because
Right.
I'm very extreme. So
Right.
now I'm just trying to find balance. I'll have some fish if I feel like I need it. If my
Mhm.
body's desiring it, I'll have some fish every now and then. But
Okay.
that's about it.
And so mentally, do you feel like, in terms of happiness, do you feel like you were happier during that celibate year or now?
I cannot tell you the joy that I experienced.
Wow.
It was. You probably think I was crazy.
Wow.
I remember I was walking. I mean, it wasn't just happiness. It was all the emotions were like right there on the surface.
Right,
I was
right.
very open, and I was walking down by on Riverside by the water, and I came upon this new park that they built, and these kids and the families were in it. They were playing, and it was this beautiful new
Mhm.
park, and I started weeping immediately, and I was like, "This is so beautiful! Like the families playing by the water, and kids are incredible." And so, yeah, like I don't think people cry tears of joy a lot. You can ask 10 people, have they ever cried tears of joy? And two or three of them might say yes and be sure about it. Have you ever cried
Yeah,
tears of
hell's
joy?
yes.
There you go. So, I mean, within this year, I cried more tears of joy than I did in my entire life
Wow.
because I was just, I was very clear,
So yeah, I mean that's like the ultimate. It seems like the goal is to have a clear mind. You felt like you had a clear mind.
Yeah,
Do you?
clear everything,
Wow.
energetically, clear spiritually, everything. But I also cried tears of loneliness
Right.
'cause, being celibate
Yeah.
is
What's
amazing.
the? I mean, wow, man. So do you think? So you would do it again, but would you do it like do you think a year at a time? Do you think you do 2 years?
I don't know if that's necessary for me after having experienced what I did
Right.
experience, but what I am doing, what I do plan to do next is I'm working on my second album, and I want to have that clarity in my music. As a person, when you write, it's coming from who you are in that moment. And so now that I'm starting to work on my next album, I want to like be very clear. So I'm going to do 3 months of celibacy, and then on the fourth month, I'll start working on the album.
Oh, okay. 3 months celibacy, then start working on the album.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a point, or do you hope to get to a point where you feel like you don't necessarily have to be celibate to have that right balance, but also you could also have that clear mind at the same time? Or do you feel like it's, I mean, you said you're an extreme person, like it's either like celibacy to have my clear mind or no celibacy and I don't work on the album? Like, do you feel like it's one or the other? Or do you feel like you're trying to get to a place where you can do both?
It's not just a clear mind, though. That's the thing. The clear mind is it's a part of it, the what you get out of it, but it's really it's a spirit, heart, soul thing that I
Okay.
can't really explain. It's the energetic thing. You know what I mean? And and so yeah, I can still do music, and a lot of my music that's out now that's popular, it wasn't I was having sex. So it's not that you can't do something
Right.
without the celibacy, but there is another level. For example, if my mental clarity is out of a scale of 1 to 10, if I'm a 7 normally, and that's great. When I'm celibate, I'm gonna be a 9 or 10, bottom line. And if you're at a 9 already or at a
Mm.
10 normally as who you are, because everyone's different, when you go celibate, you're gonna go up to a 12. It doesn't matter. Like, so I could still do my music and I could still write my second album, but I just want that extra bit
Huh.
that I can get because it's a sacrifice for my music and for my art. So I want to just be the best I can possibly be for those moments, you know?
Now, your first album came out in 2018, correct?
Yes.
And so wait, uh when did that match up with the celibacy and all that? Was it 2018 that was the year?
No, no, no. So the first album I hadn't done the celibacy, but
Okay.
I did the celibacy that year after.
It was the year
Yeah.
after.
Like
Okay.
it just ended last summer.
I got you.
Yeah,
Okay, okay. So
so
2019.
exactly.
Okay, I feel
So
you.
end of 2018 to 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so now take me back to so for the listeners out there that aren't familiar with your story, you have a beautiful story. I watched. Well, actually, first came. I first found you because, do you know Christina Hutchinson,
The Christina Hutchinson, like,
comedian? No,
wait a minute, she has a podcast?
Guys We Fuck podcast.
Yes, yes, yes. So, okay, yes. So she saw me singing in the subway.
And she put it on her. So we've had her on the show, and
Oh,
I know her
okay.
pretty well at this point. She's lovely. Love her. She's a fantastic comedian. She has her podcast is fantastic. An even better person. But she posted you on the Instagram story, something
yeah.
like that. And then I saw it. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Then I started looking more into it, YouTube, all that. Started checking out who you are, and then so that's how I first came about it. But yeah, so
So that's wild because when she posted that little video of me playing, and then we had started talking, and we had a mutual friend,
oh,
and I realized that a really good friend of mine, I used to go to her house and hang out, and her roommate is her partner on the show.
Corinne.
Guys, yes, Corinne.
Wait,
Yes,
so your friend was
my friend was roommates with Corinne.
wow.
Yeah, and so I was like, wait a minute,
That's crazy.
and Corinne had been telling me about the podcast years ago.
Oh, so you know Corinne.
I met her through
You
my
met-
other friend.
Oh,
yeah.
and Corinne was telling you about Guys We Fucked for a while.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
I mean, she wasn't telling me, but I'd heard her talk. We talked about it as
Right.
as a group.
I mean, now it's
in the apartment.
it's huge.
I mean, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then you and Christina went back and forth, and I got you.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
I was like,
interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Small world, man.
very small world. So okay, so all that being said, will you kind of in a chronological sense, I know that so it goes back to what I was saying earlier. When I was looking you up, looking at these, all your music and all your content, there was I think it was through Honda, like the Uncharted. Is it Uncharted?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They did this really good segment. I think there was a couple of different little clips on YouTube about growing up, your life growing up, how you got into music, and then I think there's another one where where it shows you and recording your first album in LA and all that stuff. But no one's gonna tell the story better than you. So will you give listeners a little bit of background of, if you will, life growing up, because I know that is a big part of who you are and what drives you today.
So born and raised in Brooklyn.
Where at in Brooklyn?
Bushwick.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it's a lot of stuff, but
Right.
I'm gonna just like give you little
Exactly.
snippets. So born in Brooklyn, my parents were living in the mosque, and with me, my brother, and my sister, and they ended up breaking up, and so I went with my aunts. So did my other siblings, and things just got crazy like immediately. My mom started doing drugs, and my dad got locked up for some craziness. I don't want to put him out there. He'll be mad at me if I do. So he got locked. He was in jail for 20 years. My mom was on drugs. And so suddenly I had no parents. So we went from being in the mosque where all the families are living together, and really you have 20, 30, 40 parents because everyone takes care of everyone, to having no parents. and being with my aunts and uncles and different people in my family, feeling.
When you say living in the mosque, do you mean like physically living in the
Yeah,
mosque?
it was a gated community.
Wow.
So
In
I
Bushwick.
yes,
I've
yeah.
never even seen this.
Well, I'm 35, so that who knows if it's still there.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a gated community, and we went to Muslim school. We like my first language is Arabic,
Okay.
like everything.
Wow.
Yeah, so once they broke up, we left there, and yeah, and I started living with my aunts, and I was very angry. You know, I missed my dad, I missed my mom, and I became, and I'm, you know, I was also one of those kids where if I didn't have it my way, I flipped out. I flipped out. One time, oh my God. Okay, one time I asked my aunt if I could go outside. This is not fun. I shouldn't be laughing. It's terrible. I asked my aunt if I could go outside, and she said no. And so I decided I was gonna go outside. And also I was gonna take that bag of apples in the kitchen and take them outside and throw them into every window of every living room on that block
Huh.
of every house.
You just decided.
And I broke, yeah, because I was so angry. I was like, you're gonna tell me not to go
Yeah.
outside? This was the kind of kid I was.
How
I
old
was a
were you
nightmare.
when
When
you
I
did?
did that, 9 maybe.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
So what age did your parents kind of split up and then you know kind of found yourself with no parents? What age, how old are you?
7 or 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many siblings do you have?
It's 7 of us all together.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So from there,
So from there, you know, my aunts couldn't handle me. They couldn't take care of me, and so my grandmother took me, and my grandmother was a different kind of person. She was very, very abusive. Very, I want to use the word evil, uh, just because that's really how I feel that she was. So she would, we were in basically a 1 bedroom apartment with a walk-in closet at the other end of the living room, and that was our room. Me and my brother, we both went together, and she would lock us in there every day. The lock was on the outside of the door, and if we had to pee or if we were hungry, we'd have to get on the floor and yell through the crease of the door, so that she could come over and open the door in the middle of the night if we had to pee or something. And there was one window in this little closet, and she nailed it shut. You know, so we couldn't escape.
what was her like reason?
For any of this?
Yeah.
Had no idea. No idea. She was very Christian. She even started her own church. And I have a feeling now looking back that there was something wrong mentally for sure.
Mhm.
For sure. She even put locks on the refrigerator. You know, like I'm not gonna steal. Are we gonna steal food or
Oh
something?
yeah,
I
no,
don't
there's
know.
something.
Yeah, there was something wrong. And she was being abused by our grandfather, her husband, physically abused.
Okay.
And yeah, so there was definitely something wrong. And it was so messed up, man. I mean, it got to a point where it was so messed up that when he would hit her, I would laugh as a kid
Wow.
because she did the same thing to me, you know. He would beat her, she would come upset and she would beat us, you know. So whenever I did see him hit her, me and my brother would laugh. That's how messed up it was, you
Wow.
know.
And you're at that point, how old are you in those days?
I think by then I was like 12.
Wow.
12. Yeah, and I remember one time in the car, they were arguing, my grandfather and my grandmother, and he just hauled off and slapped her like with his right hand while he was driving, and she was just quiet immediately. And I tried not to laugh, and it just came out of me. I just laughed like one of those, like that's how messed up it was. And she heard me, stopped the van, came out into the back of the van with a rivet gun. I don't know if you know what a rivet
I
gun is,
don't know
but
what that is.
when a car has a dent or a hole or something in it, you put this steel plate over it, and then you shoot these nails into the car to hold
Okay.
the plate there. And she took that and hit me in the head with it. And obviously I shut up. I wasn't laughing anymore. And there was just blood. I had a white shirt on. The white shirt all in the front was just red blood.
Wow.
And we just drove, kept going, kept on with the day like nothing happened.
Wait, so in your head, when you're like, even when you're laughing at seeing your grandfather hit her, it's mostly because like you're would you say like your notion of normalcy or what people should or shouldn't do is kind of messed up because you never like
No, for me,
what was it that maybe like made you laugh or that made did you think it was okay in your
no,
head?
it was one of those things that when someone does something terrible to you and you're watching them walk away and they trip, it was that laugh.
I
Like,
see.
good for you. Now it's, you know,
I see.
now you're paying for what you did to
It's a
me.
good for you like fuck you
Right.
kind of laugh.
You're paying for what you did to me. Karma kind of laugh,
Okay.
And so that's what it was. It wasn't that I thought it was funny that she was getting hit, but it was for me that the person that comes up,
Mm,
this shadow that comes up and beats me,
I gotcha.
I get to watch you get beat. Ha ha. It's your turn.
And so all like was that kind of animosity between your grandmother and you, was it just you or was it with all your siblings as well?
Well, it was just me and my brother living with her. This other
Okay.
siblings split up.
So where did they go?
Um, my brother went with my grandmother. My two youngest siblings, brother and sister, they went to Canada with their mother. My older sister stayed with our aunt. They loved her. She was really good. And yeah, I think that's and my other sister was adopted.
Okay.
Yeah, so they took her right from the hospital. So
Wow.
yeah, so seeing her get what she gave to me made me laugh, made me feel good.
And then okay. So then take me a little bit further. How
Mhm.
did then I mean, how long did that last and then where'd it go from there?
So I think we were there for maybe 2 years with my grandmother, and I was so tired of it. I was so fed up with it. I had a plan. I decided I was gonna just misbehave as much as I can, so she can, like everyone else did. They just got rid of me. So I said, all right, I'm just gonna just misbehave. I'm not gonna listen to her. And there was this moment when we were outside. I don't know what happened. She told me to do something, and I just ignored her. And she picked up a broomstick, and she was like heading over towards me to hit me. And and I remember I picked up a rock, and I looked at her. I was tired of getting beat up, hit by her, abused, and so I picked up a rock, and I gave her this look like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. And she saw that look. She looked at my face, and she didn't recognize that me that she was looking at, and she put the stick down, which she'd never done.
Mm.
Every time she wanted to hit me, she did it, no matter what, even if we were in public. She put the stick down, and she said, "Okay, I see." And I think in a week or two, I was in a group home.
Wow.
Car came. The stranger I didn't know drove me off.
Wow. That's the last time you saw her?
Not the last time I saw her. But as a kid, yeah, I saw her again as an adult, like at funerals and things like that.
So what age were you when you went to the group home?
13.
Wow. And were you going to school up until that point?
Yeah, man, it was a nightmare. I remember we were living in Staten Island when I was with my grandmother, and
Okay.
me and my brother, we would go to what did they have at the time? I can't remember the name of the supermarket that was really big at the time, but we'd go to the supermarket and we'd ask if we could pack bags for the customers. And so we'd stand back and people come with the groceries and we just pack them. And then some people give us tips. So we'd do that all day, 8 to 10 hours a day. And we'd make like $100 between the two of us.
Wow.
And for us, and 12, 13-year-old, you just went
know.
out for the day and made $100. That was insane to us. We'd get home and she would take the money from us. And
Wow.
mind you, at this time, I had holes in my sneakers. People would tease me in school. My toes were popping out. That's what I wore to school on a regular basis. And she would take this money that we made
Yeah, that is evil.
and not buy us anything that we needed. You know what I mean? And so we tried to get smart and we started to hide the money. I remember my younger brother, he put it in his underwear. We came home, put it in his underwear. We said we didn't really make anything. We didn't. And she stripped him naked. Took the money from his underwear. Like this, that's what I'm talking about when I say evil.
Wow.
Like,
So then, group home. What was?
Oh man, it was worse.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of.
It's a group home in Staten Island.
No, they took me to Brooklyn. I went to a group home in Brooklyn. Wait, was it Brooklyn? Yeah.
It was you and your brother.
No, it was in Far Rockaway. It was my first group home. Just me. Because I was the only one that had the plan to misbehave until she got rid of me. My brother he's more relaxed, more subtle, and less extreme, and probably more mature too, you know. But yeah, I just couldn't take it. Um, so he stayed with her, and I ended up going to this group home in Far Rockaway, and it was this huge building, and it were like 12 to 15 boys in each apartment. And you just even being around family who's abusive was like almost better than being in a group home with 100 other really angry kids your age and older, because then there were and only people watching were staff members who were being paid hourly to be
Yeah,
there. They didn't
right.
give a shit, really, most of them. I mean, some of them didn't genuinely care. But yeah, just I mean, that's when I had to start defending myself. I couldn't. I didn't know how to fight, so I got beat up all the time. Also, I was a loudmouth, and I thought I was funny, so I would always snap jokes on people. And yeah, that was when I got introduced to ass whippings,
Wow.
and being around people who were in gangs, being around kids who had been in jail, who had, probably murdered other people or whatever. Um, and that was a nightmare. Yeah, that was a nightmare.
What did you think at that point your life would become?
I wasn't thinking about my life at all. In those days in the group home, I thought about my brother. I get emotional just think about it, yo. I thought about my brother and I thought about my parents, um, my brothers and sisters, but mainly my two brothers, my older brother and my younger brother. I thought about them the most, and my parents, and I missed them so much. I thought about that, and I thought about just like making it past the day, getting past the day, and not getting beat up. But I was also one of those kids. I wasn't afraid of getting beat up. A lot of times, if you're in a room full of people who are like really angry, you don't need to do anything for someone to fight you or to beat you up. You don't need to do anything. So even the times where I was well behaved, people came up to me and slapped me in the back of my head. And I knew I couldn't fight, but I wasn't gonna let someone just slap me in the back of my head. So, I tried to fight. I tried to defend myself, you know.
And how long were you in the group home for?
I was in that group home for a year and every other one for a year. So from 13 to 18, I was in 5 group homes and each one for about a year.
And could you, I mean, what, like, do they school you? Like, how does that work?
So some of this one, the first group home, they had a school right across the street, and it was only the kids from the group
Okay.
home, like a private school. Well, private school sounds like way too nice. Group home, let's say group home school. But in some of the other group homes that I was in later, you were like I was in a house that was in a regular community, and I went to a normal public school. You know,
Okay. Wow. And so then at 18, then you're on your own, basically,
there was some kids who were 21 in the group home. You could stay till you're 21.
and you decided,
I was 18, almost 18 when I was in a lockdown group home called Leak and Watts, upstate. Not upstate, but in uh I can't remember. But yeah, I was there because it was a group home in Queens, and this staff member. I got to a point where I knew how to fight. Once you get beat up enough, you start to realize, oh, that's why I'm getting beat up.
yeah.
Because I just look at the fist coming towards me. And then you start to like move away from the fist. And I'm like, oh shit, I moved away from the fist. That was crazy. You're like, what can I do after I move away? So I learned how to fight. And I got to a point where my anger that I always had, now I had a sort of a vehicle to use it and express it physically,
Mm.
which was terrible for me. So I got to a point where this staff member, he threatened me. He told me if he saw me in the street, he would slit my throat.
Is a staff
Yeah,
member
yeah,
who's supposed to, but
yeah.
what did you provoke to
I
him?
was probably making jokes. I would prank people.
And he said
I was
that to
just,
you.
I was just a wild, silly, hyperactive kid,
Okay.
and he couldn't stand me. I made his job hard, basically, you know. And yeah, and he said that to me. He was like, "If I see you in the street, I'm gonna, slice your throat." And as soon as he said that, I attacked him. Like those words to me were like
Right.
not cool to say to me. So I attacked him, and because of that, I got sent to this lockdown facility upstate. When I got there, it was the big difference was whenever you get into a fight in a group home, you you fight until the staff members break it up. And you kind of hope they break it up. You don't want to go till the death as a
Right.
like as a teenager.
Right.
You want to do that. So but this group home, they did not do that. You know, this and I'm sure the people on top didn't know that they were doing this, but the staff members, if you were getting into a fight, they were there was these big metal these big magnet doors, like 5 inches thick, and it was in the living room and in the like the front door, and you couldn't get out unless somebody hit the button, you know, and that's how you got in and out of the place. And so if you were getting into a fight, they put you in the living room, close that door, and there was a big window where you could see what was going on in the living room, so they could watch what the kids are doing, and everyone would go to that window and just watch the two people fight, and whoever, and they wouldn't open the door until, you know, there was one person left standing,
No.
you know. Yeah.
This is like this is like animal
It
treatment.
was, but it was lucky for me. That was the thing, and actually, that was the thing that snapped me out of this world that I was in, that I had been put in, that I thought there was no other way out. You know what I mean? Um, it was this kid who was mentally challenged, and he would go up to people randomly and just start a fight with them. And he did. Today was my day, and so he came up to me and he was saying something that wasn't. You couldn't tell what he was saying, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. He wants to fight me. So they put us in this room, locked the door, and
Wait, so it's like the guard. It's almost like a cockfight. You feel like the guards, the guard, or the people working
the
there.
staff member.
They're like, okay, these two are
Yeah.
fighting. Let me throw you guys in
Yeah,
first.
instead of breaking it up, because breaking up a fight, and some of the kids are 21, so
Right.
breaking up a fight is not an easy thing to do.
Right.
You can get injured, you can get punched, you can get hit. You know, the kid might attack you. So staff members are like, this is just my job. I don't want to
Wow.
just go. Y'all want to fight? Go ahead.
So then
Lock
what
the
happened
door.
with this kid?
And so I'm in this room with him locked in, and I'm like, what the hell is? And he's like, he's crazy. So I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what's gonna happen right now. Who's gonna win? Like, and I was just thinking, like, what am I doing? What's happening with my life? So we start fighting, and luckily I got the best of him because I was really good at wrestling, you know. And because I was so small for so long, and I got beat up so much, I knew how to get the best of a bigger person because I was good at headlocks. I put him in a headlock. I just kept slamming him on the floor, and I put him in a headlock and put him to sleep. And I let go of him. You know, I let go of him.
Yeah.
He exhaled. I knew he was okay. And they opened the door, and I walked out. And I went up to my room. I closed the door. I was still out of breath. And there was a window, there was a mirror behind my door. And I remember looking at the mirror, all these scratches on my face. And I said to myself in the mirror, what the hell are you doing with your life?
Wow.
And I just stared at myself. And I said it again. I said it again. And I kept repeating it, repeating it, repeating it. And then I started crying, and I kept repeating it. And I must have been standing there for at least an hour doing that. I don't know what was happening, but I just kept asking myself that question. And now that I think about it, it's like what they do with meditation. You know,
Huh.
when you meditate
Huh.
and you say, I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. You keep saying that, you start to believe it. So I kept asking myself this question, and I guess it sort of pulled me out of this thing that I was stuck in, you know? And I cried myself to sleep. And the next day I went to the main office and I told them I'm ready to go. When you were 17 and up, 17 and 21, you can decide when you leave.
Hmm.
So I went to the office and I asked this woman, I said, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to leave. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm ready. And so she said, okay. And she pulled out her paperwork. She started writing something down, and she asked me, she said, okay, where are you going to work? And I said, oh shit, I didn't think about that. I don't have a job. And so she wrote something down. She said, okay, who are you going to live with? I hadn't thought about that either. And I said, I don't know. She wrote something down. And she said, she asked me all these questions that I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no
Yeah.
plan. And so eventually she just stopped and she put the pen down and she looked at me almost like like a mother. And she said, Damiyr, like, if you leave here, we're not allowed to take you back if you decide to leave. And my heart just dropped. I was so scared.
Man, you're making me scared thinking about this.
I was so scared when she said that. And she was like, "Do you really want to do this?" And I was like, "Yes." After what I went through that day before, I was like, "Yes, I'm ready to go. I have no plan. I don't know where I'm gonna live, where I'm gonna work, or anything, but I'm ready to leave. Put in the paperwork." She said, "Okay." She put in the paperwork. So I knew at that moment when I left that office, I had a short amount of time, whether it was a couple weeks or a couple months, I don't remember, but I had a short amount of time to figure out where I was gonna live and what I was gonna do so that I wasn't homeless, you know. And so I figured it out. I figured it out. I ended up going to school, going to college. I signed up for a community college, Mercy College, so I could live on campus. Then that handled what I was going to do with my life, which was school, computer science, and also where I was going to live on campus. You know, and that was the end of that life for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And okay, so then you get to college, and I mean, like, in this time, is there any communication with family members? Like, do they know where you're at? Do they know what you're doing? Do you know what they're doing?
When I left that group home, I contacted my aunt who was living in Queens, and she let me stay with her until school started.
Okay.
So she let me stay with her for a couple months with my cousins. And actually that's when I first started singing because my cousin, her son, incredible singer,
Right.
born with perfect pitch, everything. And we'd be doing dishes and he'd be like, "Damiyr, do this." Huh, huh, huh. And I go, "Huh." I couldn't do it. Something so simple. And then eventually he'd make it more and more difficult, more and more difficult. And I'd start doing the riffs. Yeah.
Right. I saw it was one of the videos. I think it was you talk about how your cousin was that much better than you, and
He
he
was great. Yeah.
and okay, so do you remember? So that was the first time you started to sing. Did you like your whole life? Did you like music? Did you think of it as anything special?
I mean, I sung in church a bit on the choir, just like most kids in church. You know, if they have a children's choir, you go sing
Right.
on the choir. Um, and actually, I did sing all the time, like to myself,
Mm.
all the time. When I was in the group homes, before that, I was always humming a tune, something that was that I made up. People be like, "What song is that?" I was like, "I don't know. Just made it up," you know. But I never thought of myself as a singer, or never took it seriously, or never. Most of the time, didn't even realize I was singing. People told me like, "What are you singing?" And I was like, "I'm not singing." You know, it was just something I did. It was like laughter and just like humming to myself was like my therapy during these hard times. And I didn't realize that at the time, but looking back, I see that.
So then you get to college. Um, are you just focusing on, so you're doing computer science, and like when's the music start to kick in, and how do you even like, was it easy I mean, adjusting to college for most people is very difficult, but especially when you have this kind of upbringing and this life before. I mean,
Yeah,
are you able to adjust okay? Are you able to
it
make
was
friends? Are
it
you
was tough. It was tough. So the music started when I was those couple months before college with my cousin, and he opened my mind up to it, like, oh, you can actually learn this, you know.
mm,
And so then I went off to college with that in the back of my head. The music stopped. I didn't do anything with music. I was just focusing on classes, and suddenly I became introverted, like truly introverted. Like
mm,
I would get so nervous to walk into a class if I was late because everyone was already there and they would see me
mm,
and look at me, and I didn't feel like I belonged there. And so sometimes I wouldn't even go to a class if I was late. I would just sit
wow.
in the stairs until the next class. Um, and so adjusting was very, very difficult because I came from a world where, you know, if you were angry and you wanted to fight, you just fought, you know. And I came from just being around a bunch of angry people and they were like me. I was also angry. So we understood each other in a way, you know. Then being in college where everyone was just, I mean, I'm sure people are angry too in some way, but it was different. And yeah, didn't feel like I belonged. So I was isolated. I didn't have any friends in college. There are people right now who might even hear this or who might have even seen my videos on YouTube and still don't know they were probably in class with me in college. That's how quiet and isolated I was.
Was it, do you think, Well, do you think it all had to do with where you had just been, just 3 or 4 years or a year prior?
100%.
Wow.
Yeah, that because that lifestyle.
Do
I
you
was loud in the group homes. I was loud as hell.
right? Do you feel like some of those kids that are in group homes and I guess it's government run system. Do you feel like a lot of them are forgotten or they're treated? I mean, some of the things you're describing is literally animal like
Yeah.
behavior in terms of like even the way that the staff members are treating them. Um, do you feel like for the most part, yeah, like those kids? I mean, you're a great example of you've done amazing things in such little time coming out of that life, but for a lot of people who don't have maybe that same drive or that same awareness or that love in a different way, I can understand why they just get lost in it forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel like do you know any of the other ones that were in there with you, what they're doing now, or do you feel like this system is made to not really help those people?
It's if you think about it, when you look at the structure of a group home, the biggest problem is that you can never take care of a child the way that a parent would, a loving parent, you know, and whether it's a biological parent or not,
Hmm.
just a loving parent, you know. Um, and so you've got people working 9 to 5, and I mean, how many jobs have we had when we went in and we like, I'm not, I'm gonna do as little as possible today because I don't feel like it, and you do as little as possible. So being a group home staff, that translate into possibly really damaging these kids for whatever reason. If you just don't feel like breaking up a fight today, you just don't feel like it. And I
Hmm.
get it. You working in this group home 5 days a week for years, you know, but that one fight could like damage a kid. You know what I mean? So I think it either makes you or break you.
Mm.
And it's not. There are staff members who really help and they really care, and I remember them, and they did a lot to try to help me to grow and get out of that. But the majority are not like that.
Wow.
Um, and so to answer your question, I think yeah, a lot of them are forgotten or sort of lost in this world in this mindset. Really, that's the big part because I some of the other kids actually, well, they're not kids anymore. They found me on Facebook, and communicated with me a bit, and some of them still have the same mindset, and it's hard to change your mindset.
I mean, what's amazing about, I've now talked to you for 45, 50 minutes is even by interacting with you, you can't tell this whole life that you've had. You know what I mean? You come off as an incredible, like the anger you're talking about. That's something that I can't even recognize. It seems um, like do you still feel that anger sometimes? Do you still feel like you have that kid in you, even though now you're smiling and it's seem very calm. Like it's I imagine doing that 180 switch is I'd imagine there's still some of that younger self in you somewhere. No.
You know how they say people don't change. I agree with that to some extent, but what I do think is that we all have a little bit of everything in us,
Mm,
all of those things, the evil and the good. But we decide to make one of them the star
mm,
of our life, whether it's happiness, whether it's anger. That one thing becomes the lead man, you know what I mean, so to
right.
speak. And during that time in the group homes, my anger was the leading man in this show called Damiyr, right? And but when I came out of that, I realized that dude can't play this role that I want to play now
Mm,
in this new life. So I just try to find ways to get rid of him or to give him a small part, let him come out and say one or two lines, and that's it. Your show is done, buddy. You know. So and I think that's what happened. So the anger, that person is still there. I've had moments in my adult life, like 3 moments that I can remember, where I felt that anger come up,
mm.
and it scared the shit out of me because I'm like, oh my god, ooh, that's intense. Um, and it's usually if someone is doing something wrong to me, and I'm innocent, I'm completely innocent. that anger comes out. That's how it comes out now.
Wow, that's interesting.
Um, but yeah, now I just lead with other things, and that's where music came in because music it was very therapeutic for me, and
Mhm.
it relaxed me. It just gave me so much ease and calm because I was expressing pain in a different way.
Huh. And so now, before we get into more into the music, I'm also curious in terms of like now present day, family. I mean, do you still keep in touch? Like, what is that like today?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I keep in touch with my dad. We've been talking. He got out a couple of years ago, and we have a pretty good relationship now. I mean, the best relationship we've ever had. We have it now. And my mom, that's most of my music is about my mom, and that's a much more complicated, difficult relationship
Mhm.
because of her illness
Mhm.
and just so much.
Right.
I don't know. There's like no one else has broken my heart more than my mom. And just the idea, um, just this idea of wanting a mom, that alone shatters my heart.
Mm.
Just wanting one and not having one, you know, um, because she couldn't. So yeah. So my relationship with her is last time I spoke to her, she does this thing where she'll disappear for a couple months or a year, and we'll file a police report. We'll, you know, do a missing person thing, everything. And she'll pop back up all of a sudden and she'll call me after a year of being missing and she'll ask me for $15. And
Yeah.
it breaks me. It breaks me so much. And so last time I spoke to her, I told her, well, not the last time, but a couple times before that, I told her, I said, we're not gonna have this kind of relationship. It's too painful for me. Really, I don't want to pick up when you call. So if you call me, it's not going to be for money. You know, it's going to be to talk about whatever. I don't care what we talk about, but it's not going to be for money. And she said, okay, okay, all right. But can I have $15? I was just like, God damn it. Oh,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
then she tried, but then it came back, started again. And so now I have all these voicemails on my phone
Wow.
from her, like right now, from recently. And I don't know. I don't want to feel the pain. I don't want to feel the pain that it's going to take to call her and talk to her. My brother's way better at that. You know, he even writes me, mom's been asking about you. I'm too sensitive, man. So sad. I talk to her every now and then, though. Like when I can, when I'm feeling my highest
Gotcha.
and I'm full of joy, I call my mom. But if I'm already struggling and I'm low, I can't talk to her because it'll bring me right down all the way.
Does she know about your music, and do they know what you do?
She called me and left a message when I was on Undercover Boss, I think. Someone told her about it and she watched it. So it was, my mom didn't go to my graduation, any of them. I had shows doing theater. She didn't come. She came to one because I promised her I'd give her $20.
Wow.
So she came and I didn't give her the money in the beginning because I knew she would leave. So I waited all the way to the end, then I gave her the money, and that was the one thing she came to. And and so when she called me about being on Undercover Boss and that she saw me, that was just incredible.
Yeah.
Just for her to like,
Wow.
I don't know, give me some sort of recognition and know that I'm like doing music. And she wanted to be a singer, and I think I always remember that about her. She was always singing. Yeah.
And how does I mean, I don't know if one day you want to have kids and
I have a
oh,
kid.
you have a kid.
Yes.
Oh, do you?
Yes, I do.
Um,
I have a 15-year-old son.
I didn't know this.
Emmanuel. Yes, yes, yes.
Well, then there you go.
15
So
year
then,
old.
how has that changed you? Your life changed you as a father.
It's been crazy. Actually, so right when I got out of the group home and I went to college, I started going to church and I met his mom in that church.
Okay, see, that was there because I think I had seen something on your social media with the I think it was Emmanuel, but I thought it might have been like maybe a nephew or something like
Yeah.
that because of the celibate conversation. So
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So he's 15.
He's 15.
Wow.
And I don't put him on a lot of the social media
Right.
stuff because his classmates, some of them they know my music.
Right.
And so I don't want to like sort of put him out there. He's very to himself, and I don't think he would really appreciate it if like I have a lot of his stuff on my page. So
That's why. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense now.
yeah. So yeah, he's like
But he's your son.
He's my son, yo. He's my son.
Not a
And
nephew. He's your son.
He's my son. And actually, so when I started college, I was lonely, so I went to church, and I met his mom in the church, and she was the only person that I spoke to. During this time of isolation, being out of the group home and not feeling like I fit in this new world, she was the only person I had, and I fell in love with her, of course, right? And yeah, I lost my virginity to her. I was 19, and she lost her virginity to me, and she got pregnant the very first time. The very
So
first
at
time.
19. So
The very
you're both
first time.
19.
No, she was 17.
Oh, she was 17.
Yeah, the very first time. Yeah,
Wow.
and that was shocking,
Like,
to say the least.
well, especially you had just been out of the group home.
Yeah.
You're in college and then you're a father. Well, how long after being in the group home were you a father? A year or two?
A year and a half, year and a half, too.
Fuck. So then what's going on in your head through that time?
Well, the thing was, I told her, first of all, that sexual experience was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. I don't give too many details, but she was crying, bleeding, and I was like, I never wanted to have sex with her before marriage. I was always waiting till marriage.
Okay.
And that was always the plan, and it was her plan too, but then she'd get these moments where she just wanted it, and she would pull at me and like just like try to like take off my pants, and I got to a point where I like didn't want to lose her, so I did it,
Okay.
and it was terrible. Like I thought this is the worst thing. Why are we doing this? She's
Oh
crying.
my God. And then she's pregnant.
Yeah, and then she got pregnant.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but from pre-cum. She got
Okay.
pregnant because I didn't come.
Wow.
And yeah. And so the thing for me was when I'm the one that told her too. I sensed it.
Oh, you knew.
It was weeks later. And I said to her, I was like, I think you should get a pregnancy test. And she was like, what? And I was just like, something's changing in you. And she got a test. Sure enough, she was pregnant.
So what's your reaction?
And I was like, I was scared. I was not ready for it. And I just felt ruined in a way. But I told her, I said, whatever you decide, I'm going to be there for you. And I'm going to support you. It's your body, And I didn't even, I'm not going to lie. There was a moment where part of me was like, just tell her to have an abortion and this will be gone. It'll be over. But the bigger part of me just told her like, hey, whatever you decide, I'm going to be there.
So then so then you have a child at 19. What do you're already, coming out of the group home. They're like, how are you going to feed yourself, go live? And now all of a sudden you have another individual, a little baby to take care of. Like, do you work? I mean, how did?
I went and found a job. I was working at, oh my God, I was working at a call center for Geico auto insurance. And you'd sit with these headpieces on and the phone would ring and there was no button to answer it. It would just answer itself for 8 hours a day. It was a nightmare.
During college you're doing this?
I left school.
Oh, you left school.
I left in the middle. Yeah, I left in the middle to get the job. I was like, I need to save up. I have 9 months. Like I was, I had to. I was trying to get it together, and so that was the first job I had. Nightmare. I used to listen to Boys to Men driving to work and just cry because I, I didn't want to be there. And then I ended up becoming a fitness trainer, and that's sort of what I did through up until music and
So
acting.
then, okay, so like let's get it. So then you get into music. When do you realize I'm gonna make this full time? I mean, it's beautiful for me. What I love about your work is not only like the actual work itself. Um, it's your message as to, or at least from the things that I've seen you talk about, um, is the reason why you do it.
Yeah.
So for people who aren't familiar exactly with you in the subway and everything, we just talk about how you got into, performing in the subway, daily schedule, what that looks like, where the idea came from, like how that all came about.
So I'd always had this urge. So after having those moments with my cousin in the kitchen with singing, I started to think about it more, and I began to have this urge to sing in front of people, you know, and that over years just started to build and build and build. And I started acting before this, so I was doing a show in Germany theater, and the very last show I broke my foot. In the very last show, broke my foot, had to stay in Germany, and I couldn't move around much, and I was stuck in a room, so I decided to buy a guitar. That was how I bought a guitar. That was how I started playing guitar because I've always wanted. I think everyone sort of, kind of, always like want to try to learn how to play guitar. It's just one of those things. And so I bought it, and I just sat in the room with my broken foot and just played guitar. Try to like look up all the YouTube videos. That's how guitar started. But then when I started playing guitar, I realized, oh, you have to sing to this. You can't just play guitar. Either you're going to be doing solos and you don't have to sing, or if you can't do solos, you just got to sing something to it. So I started learning some songs. First song I learned was "You Somebody" by Kings of Leon, and yeah, I came back to New York and I decided I was gonna sing in the subway. I don't know why I picked the
How
subway.
old are you?
Oof, this was in 2013, so that's minus 7 years, and I am 35, 28.
28.
Pretty late.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I decided I was gonna go to New York and start singing in the subway. I wanted to sing in a public place where people could hear me, but also people weren't. I didn't want them to listen too much
Mm.
because I was nervous. I had stage fright, fear of performing as a singer, um, no confidence at all, just completely insecure. So I wanted to go to a place where people were busy doing what they were doing, but it wouldn't be weird that I was singing, but they wouldn't have to sit there and watch or listen to it.
Okay.
So I went to West 4th Street. I'm a genius. I'm an insecure genius. I went to West 4th Street, and I sang in there's this long sort of tunnel right before
Right.
you get to the track. And I sung in that tunnel because I thought to myself, people would just be whizzing by. But it will allow me to sing in front of people still, even though it's for a short amount of time each person. But then it won't like make me shut down because they're standing there looking at me like, what the hell are you doing?
Mm.
And that's what I did. I went out and I sung, and my heart was racing. And I sat there and I sung for 5 hours.
And what are you
One
singing?
song,
Just the same song.
Kings of Leon. It's the only song I knew. That's the only song I knew.
Wow.
And I sat there and I sung that song. And I didn't plan how long I was going to sing, but the very first song, the very first time that I sung it, I felt this happiness and joy that I've never felt before.
Wow.
It was like the happiness and joy of expressing something that you could never express in a way that you were never able to express it. And that's why I sung for 5 hours, because it was like a high for me. It was like a high. Um, and right before I finished, this lady walked by. She was pissed. And she stopped and she said, I was over here 5 hours ago and you were singing the same song, learn a new song. And she stormed off. And I was like, oh.
What was she doing there for 5 hours?
No, she was there, like she had came to the stop
Oh, okay.
to
I got
like
you.
do whatever she was doing there. And then she was
Okay,
going back
okay.
to where she was going. So she was like, I was here
Oh,
5
okay.
hours ago. Yeah. And so when she said that, I was a little hurt, but then I thought, yeah, she's right. I should learn a new song. I should learn if I'm gonna be like
It's a
in
fair point.
public,
It's
like learn singing for 5 hours, learn another song. That's
And
the least I could do.
Were you getting a little money? Were people stopping at all? Were
I
those
think
first couple times?
that day I made $5, $1 an hour,
Wow,
to be absolutely happy,
wow, it's worth it.
full of joy. Can't live off of it, but it was worth it. Yeah, and I would close my eyes too, so I didn't know who gave me the money. My eyes were closed. I could not look at people or open my eyes and see someone's face while I was singing. And so I didn't know who gave me the money, but I was happy to see that it was something. It was a sign that, I was like, okay, I can do this. I got to get way better, but there's possibility,
Okay.
you know? And then the second song I learned was Stay by Rihanna. It was the same chords.
Love that song.
Yeah, love that song. Love it, love it,
Love
love
it.
it. And so I started to sing more, and I started to realize that because I was singing so much, I get to a point around the end of the third hour, I was so exhausted vocally and physically and emotionally and energetically that I had an energy to do nothing else but sing the song. Meaning, I realized while I was singing that I was putting on a voice
Hmm.
while I was singing. I didn't realize that the whole time. I was like, I'm putting on a voice. And I didn't realize that until I was too exhausted to put on the voice.
Wow.
And so I was like, I'm tired. I can't make it. So I have to just sing it with my voice. And I just started singing the song with my voice. And people started stopping.
Hmm.
And I was like, holy shit. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I didn't realize that you can be putting on something. And it's not just with your voice, with your personality and just the way you are. You can be putting something on, and you've done it for so long that you don't realize that you're doing it. But and that's why I love being exhausted or sick. I mean, for like temporarily. I don't like being sick too long. But it always reminds me of who I am,
Right.
because you don't have energy to do all the extra shit.
Wow. Wow. That's a great point.
Yeah. I've been saying shit a lot. Should I stop?
You can curse as much as you want.
Okay.
Okay. So then, and then you start doing. When do you start doing it? Like, you're doing it Monday through Friday, basically, right? I think
I was doing 7 days a week.
you're doing 7 days a week.
I was addicted to it.
And how much are you making a day?
Not a lot. I was not good.
But like, so is there like another, like, how are you surviving? Like, you're still working the fitness?
No. So when I came to New York, I had like a sales job doing direct energy, going from business to business, trying to get them to switch their utility provider. I quit that in 3 months. And then, so I was like, I'm just going to sing and do acting. And so I was singing every day. I was living in one of those apartments where it's like a sketchy deal where the dude makes rooms out of every room. So there's no living room, there's no dining room, there's just a bunch of rooms in the kitchen. And I had a room that cost $180 a week.
Wow.
So
where is it?
This was in Washington Heights.
What? And you're living with your son?
No. My son is with his mom.
Son
Thank
is with your mom.
God, that would be a nightmare.
Okay.
He's had because of her and his grandmother and their situation, he's had a very beautiful
Okay. Good.
upbringing.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, not like mine. So I was living in this place, and I had to pay $180 a week. So my goal was $180 a week as a singer in the subway. I thought, okay, I'm singing 5 hours a day. If I can make $180 a week and a little bit more for food, I'll be all right, and hopefully I can pay my cell phone bill. And I made the 180 most weeks, but barely in the beginning. It was really, really, any sane person would have stopped to what is that? That's 35 hours, 7 days a week, 5 hours a day,
So
right?
you're doing it 5 hours a day.
Yeah, 5 hours a day, 35 hours, and making almost 180 or a little bit more than 180, maybe $200.
Wow.
But I was just happy. I was just so happy, just doing what I love and expressing myself. So much pain from so many years,
Right.
so many years.
Right.
And you in a group home with a bunch of other dudes who are angry, you can't be crying.
Right.
You cannot cry. You can't show that weakness. You can't express these emotions. So I like bottled all that stuff up. So to release it on a regular basis was just incredible. And then as I did it more and more and more, I got better. I learned new songs and I started to make more, and eventually I was able to move out of that place and go get like a legit apartment with, with roommates or whatever.
What was like the most amount you would like? What would when you're starting getting better? What was the average, and then what's like the most amount you ever made in a day?
Um, I think the average basically in the beginning, I didn't really count because it was not good for my mental state to count how much I made. But towards the middle of busking, I do like 100 a day,
Okay.
but I wasn't doing 5 hours anymore. I was doing like 3 hours,
And what's the most you ever made in a day? You think?
like 350
Wow.
in like 2 hours.
Jesus.
I was on fire.
Yeah. On fire.
I was on fire.
175 an hour is damn good.
I was on fire.
And so then, okay, so then how did this like, I mean, now YouTube, there's you have a huge channel, lots of views and all that. How did all this, like for you, so you still do this every day?
Yes.
Every day, Monday through Friday or weekends too?
Every day, unless I'm feeling like I need to recharge, if I need energy.
And
I just started now. I stopped doing it every day for a long time, for years. But just this year, I'm doing another experiment, kind of like the
why?
celibacy thing.
Why did you feel like you wanted to redo it, restart it again?
Because when I'm not singing, I'm not as good. Like anything else, if
Right.
you're not practicing,
Right.
you're not as good. And I mean, practicing in my room makes no sense to me.
Right.
And I'm also way more grounded when I'm singing every day. And I don't know. It was just the experiment that I wanted to do this year. I want to see what I become and how I am at the end of the year. And also when I'm doing music more, I have more ideas and I write more. And I'm working on my album, so I need to like really delve into it. And I thought it would be interesting to make that what I do mainly. You sort of become what you do the most in a day. You know what I mean? And so I wanted to become music.
So now you take me through like your average day.
So now I usually I'll get up whenever I wake up.
And where are you living these days?
In the Heights, Washington Heights.
Washington Heights, but with roommates, like
just a 2-bedroom apartment.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a roommate. One
Okay.
roommate. Yeah. I keep a roommate because I don't want to have to pay
Right.
a certain level of rent, because then I don't want to. My life is about freedom and my passions.
Right.
And so if I put myself in a $2,000 apartment, then I have to like settle down and really focus on money to pay for that apartment.
right.
And that's not where I'm at right now. But I did have a moment where I was like, I'm 35 with a roommate. This is kind of messed up. But that's what I chose. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there'll be a time when I'm like, you know what? I will do whatever I have to do to have my own place. Yeah.
Okay, so I interrupted you. What's a daily schedule look like?
So daily, I just wake up whenever I wake up. I get up and I go, I do my meditating and stretching and warming up, and then I go sing for 3 hours. I have like 7 or 8 stations that I go to.
What are your main ones?
I'm not gonna tell you. I can't.
I
I don't mind you knowing.
Okay, let's talk after.
I don't want other
don't-
other buskers to know.
Okay.
They will show up at my station
Because you probably know all the best stations now.
Well, it's. Yes, for me, best for me, because everyone's different.
Right.
Because there's all the big stations that people go to, which I avoid. I try to avoid.
Oh, really?
Because it's just too loud, and my music is calming, and I don't want to be stressed, and I want to like try to ease people's stress, and it's easier to do in a quieter environment. So I go to the stations that people actually avoid, and I can say like Second Avenue on the F line, nobody goes to that station.
That's true.
Nobody, no, you don't want to be there. It's a nightmare.
It's a bad station.
It's a bad station because of the predicament, though, like the homeless people and
well, yeah. It's also, I don't think it's been tended to in like years.
Yeah, and also there were mosquitoes in that station like now.
Really?
Yeah, a mosquito tried to bite me now in February in that station. I'm like, okay, this is weird, but so that station is great because it's quiet and the acoustics are incredible. People don't give as many tips, but it's worth it for me to go to that station because it's just wonderful, So those are the sorts of stations that I go to.
Do you ever interact with other singers who are in the subways or other people who are doing the same kind of
I
thing
know
that you
a lot
are?
of the buskers.
Really?
Yeah. Because we see each other often, Either you'll be going to a station and they'll be there,
It's never competitive.
I mean, competitive in the sense that they want to get the spot.
Right.
You know, you want to get there first. So, but if you see them there, and sometimes if you see a musician at the spot you were going to, you just go somewhere else.
Hmm.
Sometimes you go up to them after they finish the song and you say, hey, you know, do you know how long you're playing? Oh, you're playing till 3? All right, I'm gonna come back, or I won't come back.
Wow.
You know, sometimes you do that, or and then you get to know them. You're like, oh, what's up? You know.
So you'll do that. So you get up around when you want, do a little stretching meditation, go perform for 3 hours,
Mhm.
and then
Come back home, do whatever I want. You know, unless I have auditions for my agent for acting stuff, because I'm doing a lot of film and TV now.
so what? Like ultimately, what I mean now, your album, your first album, at least seemingly did very well. Yeah, we can, but I mean, I know on at least on YouTube, there's a lot of subscribers, a lot of views, whatever that means to you, whatever it doesn't. But in terms of like growing, how do you feel like, you know, what's your ultimate goal? I mean, I know what I admire and appreciate, I think is beautiful, is that for you, it's really just about how it makes you feel and
Yeah,
how the joy it brings you.
yeah,
Doesn't matter if you have 100 million subscribers or 10 subscribers, and like which I really appreciate, because especially in this modern age, it's all about numbers and stuff like that. But for you, do you feel like you have particular goals? Is it another album? Is it um, dare I say a Grammy? Is it stuff like
no,
that matters to you?
not at all.
It doesn't. None of that matters to
Not
you,
at all. Not even a little bit.
huh?
Not even a
Interesting.
little bit. The main goal has always been freedom
Huh?
and happiness. That's always the main goal. If I'm doing what I enjoy and I can do it when I want and I never have to get up when I don't want to, that's the main goal. Um, there are other goals under that. For example, this year is my second album. Um, and also now I am at a point where I feel like I want to play. Before I was too scared to play anywhere else other than the subway. You know, when I would get a gig somewhere, I was so nervous because I just didn't feel like I didn't feel worthy. You know,
Oh,
that insecurity was still there.
wow.
It's hard to get rid of that insecurity. But now I'm at a point where, and this is another reason why I'm singing every day, because when I'm singing every day, I'm better, and also more people are seeing me and more people are messaging me saying, hey, can you sing at my wedding? Can you sing at my restaurant? Can you sing at this event? Can you sing at this party? And so the goal is now to sort of balance out between singing in the subway and singing in venues at events, you know. If I could do half and half, that would be wonderful. But I love singing in the subway, and I think I don't see there are points where I'm like I don't want to do this anymore, but I don't really see myself stopping forever because it's just that human connection. You just can't beat it, you know. No one's expecting the music. You're not expecting them, and then something happens, and it's beautiful, and I get to experience that on a daily basis, you know. So I don't look at me singing in the subway now as a form of non-growth, since
Mm,
I was doing it 6 years ago.
mm,
You know what I mean? I look at growth as far as my guitar playing, my skills as a singer, my songwriting, and yeah, where I sing doesn't matter to me. It's more when I think about growth, I think about me personally, and I've grown in so many ways outside of music. And I know that if I grow, for like the celibacy, that was for growth, you know, and if I grow as a person, my music will grow. It just has to. There's no other way.
mm. To wrap things up, how do you hope to be remembered?
That's a funny question because it reminds me of a song that I'm writing right now. Because I was sick, and when I was sick, I thought I would be thinking about music and acting, and it wasn't music and acting. It was if I sat down by the river enough and
Mm,
just enjoyed it enough, just peace and silence. So I it's not about being remembered for me.
mm,
It's not about being remembered. It's about doing what I love and being honest and true. And then And I know that when there are people who will see that, you know, who are insecure and they don't have the confidence to do what they love, and they will do it because of seeing that. And so, I mean, that's what I can hope for, that there are people out there who are like afraid to do what they want to do, and they do it because they saw me do what I'm afraid to do, you know?
Beautiful. Can find your album. I'm right here. It's on basically everything.
All the things.
People can follow you on Twitter, Instagram at Damiyr Music.
Yes.
That's Damiyr for
Yes.
people listening. YouTube, they can find all these great videos that we're talking about, referencing. Damiyr, man, just an absolute pleasure to have you on. I mean, your story is truly beautiful. I mean, Josh is here for all my episodes, and we have a variety of people, man. We have UFC fighters, comedians, actors. I mean, you know, like, and not to say I don't love them. There's a lot of great people there too, but you know, your story is touching in so many different ways, and man, I'm just I was really just there's so much that I took away from it, that I want to thank you for, and I know my mom, whenever you were talking about just the passion for what you do and the craft of singing and what it brings to you, I know my mom, she started singing herself just because it brought her joy. She wasn't very good at it, and she just has ever since just taken singing lessons, and I see the joy it brings her, and you know, I know she's gonna absolutely love listening to this and listening to you. So so you know, and I think for all the kids that have had similar stories and similar upbringings to yourself, I know that if they listen, it's gonna be very inspiring for them. So thank you for taking the time, and I wish you absolutely nothing but the best. And you're always welcome back on.
And thank you for having me, man.
Beautiful.
For real. And that's awesome about your mom. I love that. That makes me happy.
Perfect.